Hello, everybody. Heather here with Wellness Within Counseling. Today I'm going to talk to you about something called the 555 rule. I use this a lot in therapy practice with folks who struggle with anxiety, emotional regulation, and just in general overthinking. So if you have a tendency for that, you might find this helpful. So let's dive in and see what this is. So up there in the top right, the 555 rule says that if it isn't going to matter in 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months from now, then don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. So basically, it's a powerful tool for emotional regulation, as I said before. And I invite you to kind of stop and ask yourself, if you find that you're worrying about something, stop and ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months from now? If the answer is no, then you really don't need to let it live in your head rent free, right? There's enough things in life to worry about. So I give you an example down here. It says you're driving home from work, replaying a moment from earlier, probably in the day. You made a comment in a meeting that came out awkward, and now your mind is spiraling. We've all done that, and some of us probably still do it on a daily basis. So you might be asking yourselves things like, did I sound unprofessional, or are they judging me? Should I apologize? So before the worry takes root, you need to pause and ask yourself, will this moment matter in 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months from now? And the answer truly is probably not, because people are going to forget. You're your own worst critic, so you're gonna think of things that never would have crossed their mind, and you're human. So this moment in your life is actually relatively small, and you're probably using a cognitive distortion, to be honest, but that's a topic for another day. So instead of letting it consume your evening, give yourself permission to feel it for 5 minutes and then release it. All right, so here's another example. If the last one didn't resonate with you, you send a text to a friend and you don't hear back right away. Your mind starts spinning. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset? Should I follow up? Pause, breathe, and apply the 555 rule. Will this moment of silence matter in 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months from now? Probably not. Chances are they're just busy or distracted, so instead of spiraling for hours, give yourself 5 minutes to acknowledge the worry and then let it go. This rule isn't about ignoring your feelings. It's about honoring your time and your energy. Save your deeper processing for what truly lasts and what truly matters. One of the examples, so sometimes I use a little bit of self-disclosure, and I actually had this happen to me one time. I was in Walmart and I had a client pass me, and she said, "You looked right at me, but you didn't nod your head, you didn't say hello, you didn't smile, you didn't anything." And the client was worried that I was upset with her, or I'm sure she might have thought maybe I was ashamed or something. But the truth is, and I try to always tell people, if I see you out, first of all, I might give you a little nod, a little grin, but I'm not going to talk to you first because of a confidentiality stuff. So I'll acknowledge you, but for your own protection of your information and everything. And I don't approach clients out in public, but that wasn't the case this day. This day, I was very deep in thought, and I tell people I can be looking right at you and seem like I'm listening or looking at you, but I don't see you or hear you, because if I'm somewhere else in my mind, sometimes that happens where I'm not really aware of what's going on. I've had people point this out to me a lot throughout the years, and if some of my friends are listening to this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, it's happened, and it happens to all of us. So that's another personal example that I have. So I had to talk to her about how, I truly did not see you, even though I was looking right at you, and that can happen. So I felt sad and upset that she worried so much that I was upset with her, when really it had nothing to do with that. So, when is the 555 rule helpful? Well, it's particularly helpful, like I said before, if you have a tendency towards anxiety, overthinking, perfectionism, if you struggle with emotional regulation, and if you're working on self compassion practice. So, this is something really good to use for that as well. So, why does it work? Well, it interrupts rumination. Rumination is basically like just repeating things in your head. So it's kind of like a broken record. We all do this sometimes, where we think about the same things over and over and over. So, letting things linger in your mind, especially things that you can't control, is like leaving a dripping faucet in the background. It seems small, but over time it drains your emotional energy and it floods your mental space. So, kind of erodes your sense of peace, so to speak. So, with why this works and why this is helpful, like I said, it interrupts that rumination. It gives your brain a boundary. It kind of sets an emotional time limit. I'm allowed to think of it this long, and then I have to move on. So I'm acknowledging how I feel, right? Because we never want to just disregard how we feel. We can acknowledge it, but then we move on. It promotes perspective, so it helps you zoom out and see the bigger picture, right? Because a lot of times we'll put on a lens, like a lens that you look through. Well, when we're really hyper focused on something, we'll look through a lens and we're not able to see that bigger picture, because that thing that we're so worried about is occupying the entire space. So there's not room to see what else is going on or what other options there are. And it supports self-compassion, like we talked about. So you're not ignoring your feelings, you're honoring your energy. All right, so I want to share this video because I use this, like I said, in my practice, my private practice. I've used it with my groups a lot. Let's watch this video real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
How heavy is this glass of water? Melissa, would you care to answer?
8 ounces.
12 ounces?
16 ounces.
The absolute weight of the glass doesn't matter. It depends on how long I hold on to it. If I hold it for a minute, nothing happens. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will begin to ache. If I hold it all day long, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed. Well, the weight of the glass hasn't changed, but the longer I hold on to it, the heavier it becomes. The stresses and the worries of life are like this glass of water. If you think about them for a little while, there's no problem. Think about it for a little bit longer, it begins to hurt. You think about them all day long, and you'll feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. Always remember, put the glass down.
All right. So I love that analogy. I'm going to go ahead and get it to the next page here so we can. Okay. So set the glass down, because what they're talking about here is the longer you hold on to something, the heavier it gets. Just like that glass of water, the longer you physically hold that, you're going to start experiencing some discomfort and eventually probably pain. That's another topic I'll do another day, but talking about how, pain in life is normal, but suffering usually is not. Very few instances in which suffering should be happening. So the longer you hold on to that glass of water, the pain turns into suffering. And that's the same way we are with our mind when we're worried or we're overthinking or we're struggling with something. The longer you worry about it, the heavier it gets. And that stuff can like plant and create some roots and stuff. So, which can cause challenges later on, even. So, really good to acknowledge the weight of the issue and then put it down. Like, I'm going to set this down, because if I hold on to it for a really long time, it's not going to serve me. It's going to hurt me, right? So, I've also used the analogy like, you're not going to touch a hot stove if you know it's going to burn you, right? So that's kind of like what we're talking about here. Okay, so letting things linger can have a serious consequence on your mental health. And I put that little picture of rumination down there because rumination can truly feel like you're just going around in circles and spiraling. And, obviously, if you're stuck in a wheel, you're going to have trouble getting out. And that's what rumination feels like. So, mental clutter, that basically is going to equal emotional exhaustion. And when your brain is constantly chewing on unresolved or uncontrollable worries, it creates noise. And that mental clutter makes it harder to focus. It makes it harder to rest or feel present in your day. You're spending energy on loops that never resolve themselves. Um, the next one, rumination reinforces anxiety. So if you're replaying scenarios that you can't change, like what someone thinks of you or what might happen tomorrow, that trains your brain to expect danger. It keeps your nervous system activated even when there's no real threat. The next one, which is blocks emotional processing. When your mind is stuck on what you can't control, you often avoid what you can feel. So you might skip over grief or disappointment or feeling vulnerable, right? Because most of us don't like feeling that way, because you're obsessing feels safer than actually having the feeling itself. So that's why we reinforce that it's important to make sure you're allowing yourself to feel what you feel and don't pass judgment on that. And then it delays growth. So holding on to uncontrollable thoughts, they keep you like in a reactive state. And so you're responding to imagined futures or past regrets instead of, creating on the new choices or like focusing on the actual here and now. So letting go frees up space for action. It gives you room for creativity and it promotes healing too. So I offer here a reframe to try. So instead of asking what if, try asking what now. Because that shift from worry to agency is where your peace is going to begin. And then finally, I truly believe if you do nothing, nothing changes. So you're going to see that every blog that I make, every post that I discuss, offering these tips and therapeutic exercises to you, almost always are going to have homework attached to them. So if you've gotten this far, please don't skip out on this part, because this is the most important part. This is where you apply what we've talked about today at home and in your life. So this gives you, if you can screenshot this or something, this gives you an idea of some things that you can do. So I give you a journal prompt for the 5-5-5 rule. Explore, release, realign your energy. Number 1, zoom out. Think of something you've been worrying about lately. Ask yourself, is this still going to matter in 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months? What would change if I gave myself permission to let it go, right? Think about that. You're going to have all kinds of changes. You're going to have mental changes. You're going to have physical changes. Write those down. Think about those. Or if you're not a writer, because I know some people aren't, use your trusted person. Have a trusted person answer these questions and really think about it. Then the next, number 2, the 5-minute window. Set a timer for 5 minutes. what thoughts or emotions come up when you allow yourself to feel the worry fully. So this is that 5 minutes you're giving yourself to really just delve into it in the thick of what it is that's bothering you. Notice your body, your breath, and your energy during this time. And then compare that to, maybe I probably should have put these the other way around, but compare that to what it feels like to let it go, right? I mean, because you're going to notice those differences. Number 3, reclaim your energy. After the 5 minutes are up, what would you rather spend your energy on today? What small action can help you shift your focus towards peace or purpose? So, a lot of times this is just doing something for yourself because we're so busy in our lives and in our roles that we don't set aside time for ourselves. But we need time for ourselves every single day to do things that make us feel better, and that are essentially our coping skills. What are coping skills? Well, we could do a whole topic just on that, but music, writing, drawing, whatever it is that you like to do. There's plenty of resources out there that talks about coping skills, and I'll try to talk about that one day too. Number 4, patterns of overthinking. Reflect on a recurring worry or mental loop. We all have this. There is something that we go back to all the time that we worry about consistently. For example, sounds pretty cliche, but if you're a mom, you always worry about your kids. Like, I don't know about you, but, my son started a new activity recently, after school activity, and I've got all these things going through my head, and I'm just like, back and forth. So, kind of day in, day out, I've been worrying about that. And so I can ask myself, how often does this type of thought show up? What deeper need or fear might be underneath it, right? Because usually there's something from your past that's influencing how you're feeling right now. And then compassionate closure. Write a short note to yourself. Even though I felt blank, which is, how you felt when you were worrying about the issue, I choose to release it because why do you want to let it go? Why do you want to feel better? And then I honor my feelings, but I also honor my peace, right? And you need to practice. We're going to do, I did post a blog on affirmations, but I didn't have any video or anything attached to it. Affirmations are so important, folks. What you say to yourself makes a really big difference, even if you don't think it does, because you're going to start to believe what you tell yourself. So you need to practice these affirmations daily and reframe, reword, right? Because I tell you all the time, and I'm guilty, right? I'm guilty. Sometimes I'll say, gosh, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. I've got to reframe that, reword it to make it positive, because if I keep saying those things, it will contribute to poor mental health down the road, right? And here's the kicker. Nobody ever wants to get sick. Sick could be physical, it could be mental. It's going to happen when you least want it to, when you least are ready to deal with it. But doing things like what we're talking about today, using the 5-5-5 rule, can really help you prevent that kind of stuff from gripping you later. So thanks for watching. If you've gotten this far, I'm going to link this to my Facebook business page. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have ideas. Let me know if you practice it, what you thought of it. Share it with your kids, your friends, your family, whoever could benefit. We all can use all the help we can get. And if you haven't already, visit my website, wellnesswithin.org. Have a great afternoon or evening whenever you're watching this, and peace be with you. Bye, guys.